what I'm saying is, you know, even if there's little water, so it's so I just kind of felt like that was electrical heat. I guess what I was trying to do, I can tell you right now, I'm fine with what's this? Yeah, but if you were down in the bottom,
Yeah, last thing you want, especially on the road, is have that.
Everybody remembers playing in the snow as a kid. We were trying to figure out what's going on. That's kind of good. What are we going to do today? You have
Okay, good evening. Darlene, is it on? It's on. Hello. Good evening.
I think it's coming through now. Just hold it nice and close.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for coming to our LRTP and Safety Action Plan Community Meeting. I'm Darlene Wakuda. I'm the Director of the Hualapai Department of Transportation. We have our consultants here, and we have BRX over there, FEMA,
Raise your hands when you're SEMA. Raise your hands.
and the ICE. Lexi is our ICE.
And Chris.
And Chris. Oh, yeah. And Consort. Thank you. We're going to go through our agenda really quick. This is a Hualapai Moving Forward program update. We have it started with a bunch of major transportation projects that we kicked off with. We're going to present those a little bit and then have a question and answer period, and then we'll just be around for people to ask questions about some of our panels. Some of our big wins so far, we kicked off in May 2024, but we have completed the Rodeo Circle Park. We did a heavy road maintenance project on Youth Camp Road. We did the Veterans Park. What's coming to construction soon is the paving of Youth Camp Road. We're going to be starting the Diamond Creek Road overpass, and what's currently under construction is the admin building on the east side of Peach. So here's Rodeo Circle Park. So far we've had some tournaments, but Hualapai Days. We had our Halloween Blue Bash there, and the Joe Pawski Day celebration, and we also had a family recently do a awareness run at the park. So it's a lot of community members are taking good advantage of the nice park that we got set up for them. Hualapai moving forward, it consists of several different kinds of infrastructure projects. So we have our transportation, and it's just to support mobility, safety, and a vibrant economy. We have water, wastewater projects. We have community recreation to promote community health and well-being. Our tribal buildings, we're going to improve services to Hualapai communities, capacity building, invest in Hualapai to preserve tribal assets. Transportation planning projects. We have our transportation asset management plan, and it's to prioritize, preserve our existing assets. And assets are like our bus stops, our buses, our vehicles, our roads, our guardrails, our signs. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do with assets and roads. Then we have the long-range transportation plan as LRTP, and this is kind of part of what this is where you guys tell us what possibilities that we could have here. Like we could have better sidewalks, we could have sidewalks, we could build trails, or we could improve trails. And so whatever you guys tell us, we note it and then we put it in the LRTP. And it has to be in the LRTP because in the future, we could use the LRTP to leverage funding. So we can apply for a grant, but we can't apply for some grants unless we have it in the LRTP. So your guys' voices are really important, and just to be able, we really appreciate that you tell us what you want, what you think Peach Springs needs, and that'll help us help you. And our safety action plan is to improve the safety and efficiency of travel. So we're also gonna assess our roads and maybe some of our signs. You can't even see them at night because they don't reflect anymore. So that's a safety issue. Maybe street lighting, you know, those are safety issues. Or maybe guardrails in certain places that they don't have them, that you know that there were accidents, or even, that part out here on Buckendale Road, the gravel part, you know, that's a safety issue also. So, everybody that lives here, we know people who, had accidents out there. Our safety action plan recommendations, and what can we do to make Hualapai Road safe? Everything from signs and fences to education programs. Provide your feedback to the project team tonight, because there's a whole bunch of other stuff too, like child seat safety, seatbelt safety. We used to have a grant that they used to do awareness campaigns for seatbelt safety. Youth Camp Road, in the first part of Youth Camp Road, we did heavy road maintenance, where we laid down some, we did gravel roads, or we did the culverts. Some of those culverts were out there, they were all smashed. So we removed them and put in these other concrete ones. It helped with drainage, so that keep the water off the road. And then there's places where they were really muddy, so we put some kind of geogrid under there so that it would stabilize the road to where it didn't get really muddy. And that was the first part of Youth Camp Road. And then the next part, which should be starting soon in the spring, is the paving of that road all the way to the tank, or to the camp. When we start the construction, we're gonna close off the road, and then if you need to go to Youth Camp Road, then you would go on either Fraser Wells Road or Lagoon Road. So, and then go back.
Oh, not to go back.
Oh, no. And then, it's gonna take about 7 months, and, we'll just kind of keep everybody updated in the commune and on Facebook. The Diamond Creek Overpass, again, we got a $23 million grant from the FRA, and, it's special interest of the Federal Railroad mission to try to eliminate all the railroad crossings for safety. And we're gonna have a fence along the tracks on both sides. And the bridge that's currently there, they're gonna, BNSF wants to keep it so that they can access the tracks. And the project has been amended to include relocation, and we have a water line. They're gonna put the water line underneath the bridge. So right now it's underground, under the tracks, and they're gonna relocate it to go under the bridge.
And it's 50 years old.
And it's 50 years old.
Sorry.
And then, we talked about the safety fencing, and part of that is we're gonna reconfigure the parking lot at the lodge. It's gonna give it a little bit more space, parking spaces. It's not gonna have that access to Diamond, what is it? Is it Diamond Creek Road? It's not gonna have access to Diamond Creek Road anymore, and, in the middle here, we're gonna have, crossing improvements, and there's this cool little thing that we saw. It's called concrete, stamping. And we can put designs in the crosswalks, and we still got to get approval from ADOT, but that's what we're looking at for that area. And so we'll probably put something out on Facebook or something. So anytime we send out a link, I mean, I would appreciate it if you guys clicked in and answered the questions, so that you guys have an input in like whatever we do, and that we aren't making all the decisions. And it's coming from you guys. We talked about the safety fencing, and then the pedestrian is gonna have a sidewalk. This isn't gonna have the rail, you know how the current bridge has the rail on the sidewalk? This isn't gonna have that, because the rail is considered a safety hazard or obstruction. So that's what we're gonna have. It's gonna be covered, so for some shade. and it's gonna have solar panels up there. And then the intersection is gonna be a little bit to the east of where it currently is, or the west. And construction should be starting this summer. We shouldn't really have any impacts on 66, and we are in coordination with all our stakeholders, and the main ones are GCRC and the lodge. And augmented well, I missed that.
Sorry.
Augmented communications during construction. Okay, next. Oh, I'm supposed to pass it on. Key milestones is publication and Federal Register. Oh, Bill. This is Bill. I was supposed to pass it on and when we were talking about the bridge.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. So this is our water rights pipeline. This is the one coming up from Diamond Creek down the river, coming up 4,000 feet. And it's going to hang a right and head on over to Grand Canyon West. In the process, though, the original plan was to go through Peach Springs Canyon and up by the spring itself. That caused some problems for us. First, there's a lot of habitat there, and also that spring goes underground and you can basically get into the trench where the water is and lift the pipeline. So to avoid that, we started looking at another path, which is this yellow line, which is Box Canyon. Box Canyon actually cut 5 miles off. So cut 5 miles off the total project, which means we save money. And then the green is basically going along Buckendale Road all the way to Grand Canyon West. There's 10 pump stations along this way. And down at the river, the pump house where the intake is right by those rapids. So at Diamond Creek, there's always 85 feet of water going down. So it's got a constant head, a constant depth. We're going to be coming in probably about 10 or 15 feet above the bottom. People aren't going to see it. And then it's going to go to its first pump house. The intake structure there for the pump house is going to be in amongst the ramadas. It's going to look like a ramada. The pump station is going to be underneath the new ramada. And so people basically a picnic table there. And then it'll go up through Diamond Creek, along Diamond Creek Road, up to Peach Springs Canyon, Box Canyon. We've done an we've done a bunch of studies in support of the EIS. We've got the NOI, which is the publication in the Federal Register. We're now published, so we're going to have some public meetings. Those meetings are going to include here for the tribe. Then there's going to be public meetings for other tribes, for all their TIPOs. And then there's going to be for the rest of the people. I think that one's up nice. And so we'll have the things and the monitors that did all the work. Going through here, they discovered a whole bunch of cultural sites. Okay, our cultural department worked with the contractors and discovered a whole bunch of stuff. And so now that they were able to document those, our cultural monitors are going to be on site for the projects. Next. And next community meeting, spring of 2026, and basically to be determined. Oh, and the bridge. So you guys saw the model over here on the bridge? Okay, so you all know we've had tragedies over the years with that. And this whole idea with the bridge came about back in 2014, and even before then. People who wanted the bridge to be able to get there, because people get stopped by the train. We have trains every 15 to 20 minutes, a mile plus nowadays, and sometimes they would stop, right? And sometimes kids would actually try to get to the school bus, would have to crawl underneath one of the trains. And the trains go both directions. So it's really dangerous. If you live across the tracks, If you go somewhere, you probably can't sleep unless there's a horn blowing or something. Well, one of the things that can happen here with the fencing that we have is to hopefully establish what's called a quiet zone. So the railroad won't be blasting the horn as they're coming up, because they blast the horn if there's people there, or if they come to a crossing, an uncontrolled crossing, which is the at-grade crossing we have now. And I don't know if we will be able to get rid of the earplugs at the lodge, but we might be able to. If they get a quiet zone, at least they won't be blasting the horn. The grant that we put in for that, we basically got told that this grant is becoming available, and we had 75 days. We got a grant application in 60 days, including a guaranteed maximum price, the preliminary design, and we presented that to the Federal Railroad Administration. There was $46 million that was given to Arizona, to communities in Arizona. Hualapai took $23 million of that, okay, to build that overpass. And right now, our last meeting with FRA was actually today, and it looks like we're right in line to get moving. They've got to review one more document for us, and then we should be going into final design. Charlene? Oh yeah, Charlene? Come on, you got stuff on this. Is Nathan here too?
No.
No. Okay, so you get to speak for Nathan.
So what am I going over that you haven't said already?
Well, you're involved with designing Youth Camp Road, right?
Okay.
And the railroad, the approaches, right?
Sure. It may be good to talk about the quiet zone. Just because you do the improvements doesn't necessarily mean you get the quiet zone.
Right. So nothing's guaranteed.
So one of the things that we're having to do on this project is coordinate with ADOT for the intersection. So what we're looking at doing, like Darlene had mentioned, we're doing a decorative sidewalk. So we're hoping that ADOT will approve us putting in some type of decoration that would go along Diamond Creek Road, not SR 66, because SR 66, they have found that when you put a decoration on their road, people like to lay down and take pictures with it. So whatever we do, the decoration will go along Diamond Creek Road, and we'll be adding all the new ramps. You'll still keep your street lighting at that location. But this improvement will also tie into what we're doing on Diamond Creek. We're adding new sidewalk along Diamond Creek Road, primarily on the east side. We'll have a little bit on the west side that goes to Pop's Laundry, but it will be primarily on the east side. And then as far as this intersection, we requested through ADOT to put in what's called circular rapid flashing beacons, and that will allow for pedestrians to activate it and stop traffic on SR 66, because we understand that, or we're hoping that with all the improvements on the other side, in addition to the path, that this corridor will become a great pedestrian corridor. So we're also doing improvements. We'll have sidewalk on the bridge, but then we're also taking it along. We're trying to figure out what option to do along Rodeo Way so that you have complete pedestrian access all the way to the rec park. So.
Oh. Yeah, I have a question, and it's a big safety issue, and I'm sure everybody else sees it, but as you're coming at the end of Diamond Creek right there to get on Route 66, we have the transit bus that parks right there.
Yes.
Very, very dangerous. You gotta pull clear out to the lane to see if any cars are coming while another car's coming this way. If we can address that, I think maybe that transit spot should be moved to the back of the building or further down the road, but in my opinion, it has no place being in that spot.
Perfect segue.
Yes, perfect, actually. So my name is Camille Bedford. I'm also with Consort. I'm working a lot on the long-range transportation plan and the safety action plan, which is what those boards are behind you. Specifically to address your question, one of the recommendations that we heard, or one of the concerns that we heard in the last outreach meeting, the first one back in October, was turning from Diamond Creek onto 66. There are a lot of cars that park there, a lot of big trucks that park there, buses that park there that really block that view and make it an unsafe turning area. So one of the recommendations, programmatic recommendations that we're looking at is recommending a formal study, parking study be done along 66 through Peach Springs, really from Nelson Road to Naga Road, to look at where we can apply certain kind of parking restrictions, working with ADOT to make sure that those are enforceable and aligned with their standards as well. Because just turning out of it earlier today, I could see the cars that were parked for the market, they did block that view. So that is one of the recommendations that are coming out of that plan.
So we'll have to wait until all this happens before the transit stop.
Some of these recommendations I think may be able to be enacted beforehand, but it's limited in that capacity. So it could be something that the tribe looks at going forward and maybe is able to address, as some of these recommendations are. A lot of these are not. So that may be a conversation that has to be had with ADOT specifically.
Yeah, we could have that moved, because the original, the first stop that we first set out, and I think we reported to ADOT, is between the store and the post office, just before the road that comes out onto 66. You know where I mean? Yeah. You're right there. That's where the stop should be, so we could have them move it.
Thank you.
And so, I don't know if they introduced you very well yet. You introduce yourself? So Darlene, you know she's the new director of the Hualapai Department of Transportation. Okay? So I no longer have roads or any of that. She's got transportation planning, roads maintenance, and some of the projects. So she can get it done.
Yeah, we'll have them move it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So everybody can hear you.
Okay,
You got it.
Okay, in the past 40 years, along Route 66, as we're kind of talking about Route 66, so just past the lodge area, going on up towards Sligman, there's been a lot of construction that's taken place over the past 40 years. We've had the Indian Health Services Clinic built there. We've got emergency medical services built there. A number of homes have been built there. We've got juvenile detention as well. We've got river running established up there. And just recently, the tribal administration building is going up there. And I'm concerned because that's right where I live, and a lot of traffic moves through there very fast. And in your studies, I was wondering if you consider maybe persuading ADOT to lower the speed limit there, going on up the hill. Well, actually from traffic coming down that hill. So that I think would be a concern to us. We've had a lot of accidents over the years on that curve because of high speed and a lot of, well, to be honest, drunken driving. And we have a lot of kids there because a lot of houses have been established there. So if you consider that.
So as part of the admin building, we are also doing the plans to add a right turn lane to the admin building. And as part of that process, we're adding a high visibility crosswalk, and it will also have the circular flashing beacons. But in order for us to slow the traffic, once those improvements go in, then we can go out there and do a study to prove to ADOT that there's an issue with speeding. And actually, hopefully, there will be more pedestrians crossing. Once we are able to prove to ADOT that it needs to be lowered, then we can lower it. But we have to do a study once all the improvements are in. So that was part of our, part of the initial analysis that we did for that location. So, but unfortunately, we have to prove first. We will be putting up other, like we'll be putting up the flashing beacons and more signage warning of pedestrian activity in that area. But until we can prove that the speed needs to be lowered, ADOT won't do it. It needs to be studied once all the improvements go in.
So let's say that doesn't get approved, and what would be an alternative? Would that be rumble strips before the hill when you're coming down from Slickman? Like, what's the criteria needed in order to implement rumble strips?
As a matter of fact, we were talking about that today.
Yes, we are looking at rumble strips going across the roadway as being transfers, rumble strips going across the roadway to warn drivers, as well as signage actually painted on the roadway. These are both still things that we need to get approval from ADOT, but that possibly don't necessarily warrant a full study going into them. But we will have to work heavily with that. But yeah, there are other ways that we can do that.
Yeah.
And ADOT's been pretty receptive to some of our responses or some of our questions that we've asked. It's just that they have to have it documented that there's a problem. And so until then.
So Charlie, can you explain a transverse?
Oh, so the transverse rumble strip is a groove into the street that is across the whole lane.
But
So-
there's this one specific bump on that road, and I've been guilty of hitting it a little too fast and almost lost control, and I wasn't under the influence. Like, what would be needed to flatten that little bump out? It's like right around that curve, right before you start seeing peach mangoes as light.
Just a shade.
Oh, well, we
So-
would have to, go ahead.
Okay, so, sorry. Okay. So one of the things we do is, with the roadway, we can address the fact the smoothness of the roadway. If you look at Diamond Bar Road, you see some spots where it's a little bit lighter. Because what we did is after we built the roadway, we ran a level across it, a little bump here, a little bump there, and we shaved it off. We can do the same thing there because it is a hazard.
Is there research on like heat-resistant materials? Because I know that a lot of our potholes comes from our fucking hot summers.
Oh.
Like,
Cool,
what
cool.
other materials are we searching into besides asphalt?
So right now we have a product called Solid Earth that we're looking at using. It's like a polymer-based, I'm speaking out of terms, I believe it's a polymer-based product with the natural soil that's there to do it. It's like, feed me stuff to talk about. Okay. So we're looking at that. We're looking at other mechanisms. We got to be careful, and I can go to a little bit here, but so we have transportation research centers all over the country, and in Minnesota they were researching stuff on potholes, and they used it with. So you guys have made slime before, right? And now you push it, it stops like solid. Well, they basically made a slime thing for pothole patching. It's really great. Unfortunately, it worked beautifully for vehicles, but it was made with cornstarch. And the deer loved it, so they went and ate the road. Okay, so we got to be careful with what we come up with to do it.
Thank you for answering.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So a lot of stuff that you're seeing, we're also looking at slowing down the traffic up above by moving the 65 mile an hour speed limit sign further back and putting an intermittent, a 55 mile sign. Because right now we go 65, 45, slam on your brakes at 35.
I have a question for Darlene. What was that? You said to go, is it a website or to answer your questions? Is that on Facebook or What's the address or what?
HualapaiMovingForward.com. Is it com or org? .org. Yes.
Thank you.
We have actively.
You got another one?
Yes, we also have QR codes, and links on the posters as well.
Yeah, we got, yeah. Did you hear her?
Are we talking about residential area as well? Because, I live with my sister down at Nelson Road, and we have the line plant people coming through there like 40, 50 miles an hour. And I think that you guys need to put speed bumps in there, because, there are sometimes kids on the road, and, you know, that's, safety, for the community, for that area. And another thing, I noticed that all the structure that went up and all the rocks and all the stuff went to Nelson Road in that area. They're all piled up. I think they need to bring in a crusher and crush all them rocks and, you know, utilize that. So, that's all.
So specifically to address the Nelson Road question, and I'll pass it over to Phil. One of the things that we had heard in the outreach meeting the first time was interest in paving Nelson Road. Since we heard about that, discussions that we've had have led us to believe that maybe paving it is not in the best interest of everybody, just because those drivers can cruise really fast once it's paved. However, paved roadways lend themselves a lot better to speed mitigation techniques, like, you know, if we did want to do a speed table or did want to do rumble strips. So there are trade-offs with that decision. We can look at paving, maybe, you know, introducing some speed mitigation techniques at certain spaces, additional signage, maybe flashing signs at sharp curves on Nelson, warning signs when they're getting closer to residential areas if we do want to choose to keep that unpaved. But paving the roadway does expand what kind of speed mitigation techniques we can apply to the roadway.
Okay, so as we were saying, so one of the things we're looking at is Nelson Road needs some improvements, some drainage improvements, and the intersection with 66 is a bit of a problem. So one of the things we were discussing today was the fact of improving that, but, and again, the concern that as we improve it, they'll end up putting in more speed or using that road more. When they use that road, one, they drive fast, two, they raise a lot of dust, right? So we're looking at different dust abatement techniques, things like that, to stabilize the road material. On the idea of the material that's being stored on Nelson Road, the intent is to crush that material and reuse it in different locations. That's why we stockpiled it.
Since Nelson Road is coming up, you know, I've heard that a lot of consideration is being done by your department to get the roads department located down there. Is there any truth to that? Because I think that would be a lot of heavy equipment running through. That's dangerous to have that in a residential area.
Yeah, in, I want to say 2016, 2017, we did cultural survey and EIS for that area, 10 acres on Nelson Road, right there where the old softball field used to be, in that part. And tribal council approved it, and we're gonna put it was gonna be a public services / transportation ground. And part, in the beginning of all of this was we're gonna have the transportation department / public services, and then fix Nelson Road, pave a mile of Nelson Road. But then when we started talking about everything that's gonna go into doing all of that, we're gonna have to, because of the equipment and, like we have a semi with a long trailer, a lowboy, and our buses, they can't make that turn, so we would have to realign that, intersection. So after all the talking about it, we decided, well, maybe that's not the right place. So for right now, we're gonna go to council and, ask for another piece of land somewhere else. And it's true that we do have 10 acres on Nelson Road, but at this time, we're thinking that that's not the best location at this time.
In addition to that, it wasn't just about the equipment. The guys did discuss the impact to the community, the fact that we have children there, that we have people in there, and if we're running equipment all hours of the day or night, that would disturb them. So that was brought up as well, so to say that this wasn't necessarily the best location.
Does that answer you? Is that sufficient?
It does, appreciate that, and, I just think that in, all the endeavors that you do, that you would consider the community first with the members, and, as some of us have mentioned, there are children that are on the streets, and we have a lot of pedestrian traffic all over this community.
One of the locations they're looking at is out on Buckendale Road, away from the communities, but still close enough to serve the community, but not so close that they would disturb them with running their equipment.
So I have one more thing, then I'll be quiet. Since we talked about Nelson Road, we'll talk about our road, Diamond Creek Road. Right here, you can see where they torqued the road, and there's some hard dips right there. That pipe should be fixed level like that was before they tore it apart. We have river running that goes up and down this road, 50 miles an hour. I can't remember, how long ago back, but I went to tribal council and asked if they could put those little bubbles on the road or whatever. And law enforcement told tribal council that it would be a hazard to their units because they might bottom out there when they're going. Well, they shouldn't be going that fast anyway. But that was my answer when I asked if they could do something to Diamond Creek Road back then. I think that we should still put bubbles out. There's a lot of kids on Diamond Creek Road. That's traffic going all the time with river running. We have the guests that come in from river running and they're on the butt on the road. It's a big hazard. I even thought about buying those little fluorescent people that slow down kids playing, just to buy them, just slow them down. But there's something really needs to happen with that. And I think a big thing that needs to go up is maybe some speed limit signs. Because they're going to get stopped and say, well, we all know because we took the driving test 50 years ago. But, maybe some of them forgot that the speed limit is 25, or is it 35? So maybe that's what needs to go up too, just to remind the fast, heavy foot people that are coming up and down that road. But if we can get some kind of caution on that main road, even if it's the bump that they try to build right here at the school thing, that's flat, but maybe we can have some of those on our road too, there, or just something.
Okay, thank you, Roscoe. The slowing down traffic on Diamond Creek Road is also, one of our safety projects that we're going to address in, this bundle that we're currently doing. But we're trying to, coordinate our efforts. So we're also gonna do some sidewalks or like a walking path that, been, in the works forever. So we're trying to do things at the same time, but yeah, we, are working on that. Not only that, we also have, aging infrastructure under our road, so we're trying to, do everything at the same time. So if we're gonna be replacing pipes, we don't wanna tear up a brand new road or, brand new work just to get to the pipe. So we're trying to just coordinate all these different things so that we can do sections of Peach Springs roads at the same time.
And I'll add on to that, just drawing off of it, like she mentioned, we're looking at that walking path that's going along Diamond Creek. And specifically outside of the elementary school, we know with so many young children crossing that roadway, we really need to be elevated and visible to drivers. So some of the recommendations that we have up on the boards back here, and I'll chat about those in a moment, is to look at the potential of doing a raised crossing across the road. No, apologies, not a raised
We are
crossing.
putting in speed tables, but we can't because of the design and the meeting, because of meeting pro-WAG requirements. The table, if you have a curve, you can't put the speed table at the same height. So we do have speed tables going in, but they're going in before you hit the crosswalk.
I see, okay. Some other recommendations are possibly painting a center line down the roadway, just to establish that there are two different sides and, could potentially slow that traffic down, just because it is a very big roadway. In addition to additional striping or signage, flashing signage. So there are a few things that we're looking at recommending, and I definitely recommend checking out our map specifically for Peach Springs, where we have those recommendations listed out specific to the area in front of the elementary school. I will note really quick, just on a general sense, so like I mentioned, I'm here representing the long-range transportation plan and the safety action plan. I think the majority of you, if not everybody, has at least taken a look at the boards with the recommendations. To give a little bit of background, the recommendations that you're seeing, both safety specific, so roadway infrastructure, programmatic, like making media campaigns or introducing roadway safety to young kids in elementary schools, different things like that. Those all came from you guys in the first outreach meeting. In addition to drawing from the last long-range transportation plan back in 2014, as well as the safety action plan. So any recommendations that were not completed from those two plans, but still seem relevant today, were pulled into what you're seeing here. And what we're really asking is, we have stickers, we have some notes on some specifics of these recommendations. If you really like this recommendation, specific to that area, green dot, it's good, I want to see this done. If you have some questions or concerns, for the most part you like it, or maybe if we tweaked something, I would like this better, yellow dot. We have some sticky notes here that you can also take notes on. And then we have red dots for absolutely not, I do not want to see this, any form of this, things like that. I've also passed out in front of you a larger sheet of paper, a full sheet of paper, that those recommendations correspond to this back board right here for roadway, basically the entire roadway. And then a little comment card, it's a half sheet. So if you don't want to say it out loud, or if you just want to make it known, feel free to put those comments in. We have a comment box back there.
One thing, if you do put a red dot, it'd be really helpful if you could use a sticky or something to explain why you have a red dot there. Okay? And just to do that, there's some things that we tried first and got shot down on. Traffic circles to slow things down on each end of town. ADOT really frowned on that. So, traffic signals, they frowned on those.
Did you have a question?
I just had two quick comments or concerns. Can you clarify what a speed table is? Because is that just another word for speed bump? And then another one was for the walking path, is that supposed to be a hybrid with biking and else what? Or are cyclists supposed to abide by the driving rules and stay on the road?
Exactly. For the second question, technically bikes aren't allowed to ride on sidewalks.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they don't. You'll have kids riding, but technically they're still to ride in the street.
Okay, so then consideration finding a grant for public knowledge on upcoming cyclists on how to be safe on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. We can throw that on there. We don't have that recommendation right right now, but I will write it down and include it. Yeah, there we go, check.
And your first question, you guys have a couple of, yeah, you have speed tables down this street. A speed table is wider. The bumps, you just do this, right? Well, a speed table, at least you can drive over it and you don't feel like you're bottoming out your vehicle. So it's a lot wider. Yeah, so you can do this versus this.
All right, thank you.
Some places they refer to the speed table as a sleeping policeman.
Never consider a roundabout, please.
Oh,
Got it. Understood. So these boards will be here after the meeting as well, so please interact with them. If you have any questions or comments, and like Phil had said, if you have a red dot or even a yellow dot that you want to chat with one of us, we would love to hear it.
I have a question. So, the water rights, the pipeline.
Yeah.
I just want to know if it's gonna cause any damage to the Box Canyon Cemetery that we do have out there. This is my first meeting,
Okay,
so
no, so Box Canyon Cemetery is actually way above where the pipeline is going to go. So that was a question was actually asked by Charlie Vaughn of the council. So we went out and we looked at it, we drove the route, we looked at it and get up to the top there. It's actually, so Box Canyon Cemetery, you have to drive up on the side, go on up the side of the cliff, come over and you drop into a depression, and that's where the grave sites are. And the pipeline is down in the bottom of the wash as it goes through.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have another question, since we're talking about roads and stuff, and I know you're just in the phase of doing studies and stuff and getting ready for your projects and all that, but what I want to know from, I guess would be you and Darlene, that what are you doing to include some of the sister departments and programs in this? Now, I know nobody likes to share money, but what are you doing to infuse some of that money back into the community? Because a lot of times we have projects here, let's say 10 million for example, and all that money does is just go from one hand to the other, and we're left with a $1 million structure, and all that money just came into the reservation and went out, and none of it really stayed here. And when I say, how can you, or how would you consider using some of our sister departments and programs in your projects, not for free, because I know the tribe likes to do that for free,
right.
But some of that money can go into these programs to infuse some of that money to be here.
Okay. So all the construction projects, there's a tariff fee that's associated with the construction projects. It shrinks down percentage-wise as the project size gets bigger. Right now it's 5% for the lower cost projects, but it gets smaller and smaller as it goes up, but it's still a larger dollar amount. And that money goes to Taro, which goes to helping the kids with scholarships and things like that, and housing for when they go off to school. Also, it allows us to take some of our Taro workers and go through training programs for them so they can get better at what they're doing. The other thing we have is we use other departments. So we use our cultural department and we pay them to do our cultural stuff. So on the EIS for the Water Rights Settlement Project, they were an integral part of the EIS, and they're still part of it. They're doing the work. They were out there with the contractors side by side, identifying locations, doing the walking, and getting paid. So that department's getting paid from roads and transportation and public services, depending on which project they were doing. So they're getting compensated for that. And then, let's see, I'm trying to think of any others. If we have to use PD for helping us with barricades and stuff, or having a physical presence of an officer, we'll pay for the officer. But our projects, we pay for those services. Okay, that's a pet peeve we've had before, is we quite often get used for free, right? In Public Works. But with these projects, these construction projects, we want to make sure that money goes to Taro, because that goes to our kids. We want to make sure that the money goes to our cultural department, because what are we going to do? Pay some outside contractor who doesn't know anything about Hualapai? We need to have our cultural department in there supporting these other archaeologists that we have. So we do that.
Yeah.
So I haven't used forestry yet.
So Terrell's great for hiring a lot of laborers, a lot of shovel pushers, and they don't really do anything to earn any kind of qualifications or some kind of job history. And we have a lot of people in our programs that exist already, and departments that are established already. Like I saw road maintenance. We have road maintenance. I saw that you're going to be doing a lot of brush cutting. We have forestry. We have a lot of different things of that natural resources department. You mentioned the cultural as well. I'm glad you mentioned them. But it's somehow some of that money can be reinvested back into these programs. They've got a lot of labor. I'm sure they can use the experience to build up their qualifications. I'm sure they can use that to maybe build up some of their equipment or labor. So,
Yes, and going back to one thing that was brought up before about the material and crushing operations, one of the things we were looking at is purchasing our own crusher operation so that we can, a mobile plant, that we can move from location to location and trying to establish a crew and train them so that they can start preparing material for us. Because that's a 70-mile pipeline. It's going to need bedding material the whole way. And it doesn't just appear, right? You've got to create it. So we were looking at doing those kinds of things. We didn't have a department in mind for crushing. We were thinking again, terror. And that's something that could actually just become a business, right? When it's done with what we're doing. Because one thing we had trouble with is getting material from outside. It's just really expensive, a lot of freight. But being able to do that, using forestry as clearing and grubbing, that's an awesome suggestion. I didn't even think about that before. I keep thinking big trees for you guys, but yeah. So we should add this one.
One of the other things that we have with our bundle is to develop some of our, we call them soft projects, to help our different departments develop SOPs, protocols, stuff like that. And so like right now we only have public services, solid waste, and transportation who are working on soft projects to build their protocols so that they can implement some of these things in them. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that happen that aren't even written. And sometimes too, like when we deal with grants and like say roads, they have 638 money and their thing says they can only expend their money on road maintenance projects and road maintenance things. But then we have Game and Fish saying, can you do this for us? And so we're like in this bind, but through our soft projects, maybe we can tweak those protocols and SOPs in a way that enables us to be compliant with all of our grants and still be able to assist. So that's kind of what we're still working on. We're still kind of gathering our information, our data from each of our programs and departments to see what do they do right now. And then also from you guys, your comment is valid. That's something that we'll try to work in there too. But that's kind of part of what our SOPs are going to entail is like how do we coordinate all our services between all our different grants, because the tribe has a whole bunch of grants, and all our grants say you can, like you apply for a grant and you say, this is what I'm going to do with that grant, and you have to do that. And sometimes, they could even say, you spent money here. If they actually did an audit, why did you do that? So we'd have to be able to create our SOPs to be compliant with all the grants from all the different agencies that we get our money from. Have anything? Ira, he's our soft pro.
Hi, thank you. Ira Barrow with VRX. We're handling quality assurance on a lot of construction projects. I'll speak to that very briefly. But when these projects are going, we're the folks that are out there ensuring that what has been put into the plans is being put into the ground. We work hand in hand with our SEMA partners, who's the constructors. We see a problem, we visit with them, we work on making sure we get it corrected. Got a great relationship there. Not always smooth ground, but that's part of the role sometimes. To speak to what Darlene was just talking about, myself and Jeff Thurman are working with the departments, and we've just started. And we'll gather what's called a baseline, and it will be with public services, it'll be with the road department, and with transit and solid waste, all of those departments of what they're doing now. And part of your statement falls right into that. So I'll say that we're going to help recognize or observe areas where they can find some enhancements to the way they're currently operating. Cleve and I have talked several times, and we're really excited about getting there. To give you a little background, Jeff and I are 30-year maintenance people. So maybe he's 40 years and I'm 20, but we average 30. He just looks a lot younger. But we really care about trying to make sure that in an area just like y'all have here, that you're doing the best with what you have and work together. It's not always the case at the beginning, and sometimes somebody has to raise their hand and say, why can't forestry? So perfect example of that. So I hope that helps. It's just perfect timing for us. We're just getting started on that task.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And we're really excited. I would like to clarify one thing, and it would be the question about the bump and smoothing it out on 66. 66 is a state highway, and I know from the design criteria and everything that they're going to be doing, if they can include that spot as part of the project, I bet they can get it fixed. If they can't, they can make a recommendation to the state that it needs to be looked at and taken care of. But I know that you bringing it up will bring that to the top of the list, so that's really important. And I'm sure you were not under the influence, like you said. Nobody ever thought that. All right? You didn't have to bring that up. We believe you. Thank you.
And just so you know, last time I worked on 66 without them knowing, and they found out, they were a little mad at me. But we did it anyway. But the new transportation director follows the rules. Okay? She follows the rules, she's not out there getting in trouble. Okay? The other thing is, Joe, as you mentioned, so we have a lot of guys that seem to be just being laborers and stuff, right? A lot of us have kids that are off to college all over the country. These companies, these guys don't just work down in Phoenix, okay? They're all over the country. So one thing we'd like to do is to get internships with our kids at the colleges that they're at, where they're at. There's probably one of these offices in there, and we have people who write grants, who do communications, bridge designs, road designs. We've got people doing geotechnical work, environmental work, whether it's birds or animals or fish, whatever, all that stuff's included. And even artists. So those things are out there. And what I ask is if you do have, you got kids out there, or you got some people with some talent out there that want to do something to help build all these projects. This is the first set of projects. There's 34 projects in this bundle. Okay? There's a lot of stuff. And we're working on a second bundle to keep going and building more things. You guys see some of those trails on the back. You look through there. A lot of those are from Sandra Irwin. Okay? She had the vision years ago to try to build those trails so that we would be doing, Hualapai would be doing more walking, right? Getting healthier. So she did that. And through some of our analysis, we're coming up with the exact same pathways that she had. And so basically think about it as her vision being completed. Okay? But there's opportunity. If you've got kids who want to join some of these companies to do things, they can. Any other questions? Comments? There's food left. Please take some. Wait, one more.
I just want to say one closing thing. Like I said, our project team will be in the back until the rest of the meeting, so feel free to interact with us. Like you just saw, it's as easy as making a recommendation. I don't see this. I want to see this, and we'll note it and we'll bring it back to the project team. So anything that you guys want to see, please let us know. Fill out those forms. We have that turn-in box right there, or I'll come around at the end to collect everything as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
What's the radio beacon?
Oh. So they have, so ADOT doesn't want those. So it's the circular rapid flashing beacons.
Yeah, we're gonna have visitors.
Okay.